We have breaking news tonight concerning the death of Washington Post's Jamal Khashoggi. The Post reports that, and NBC News has confirmed that the CIA has determined that Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman ordered the assassination of Khashoggi. Khashoggi, as you'll recall, went missing and was presumed dead after he entered the Saudi consulate in Turkey early last month and never walked back out. For many weeks now, it has been widely suspected that Saudi Crown Prince was responsible for Khashoggi's death, with Turkish officials providing mounting evidence to back up the allegation. But tonight, for the first time, the Post and NBC News are reporting that the U.S. intelligence agency believes with a high degree of confidence that the man nicknamed MBS ordered the killing. That assessment complicates things for Donald Trump, who has been reluctant to point the finger at the Saudi Crown Prince and has even contemplated the idea of handing over to Turkey a different U.S. resident, a Turkish dissident who holds a legal green card, handing that dissident, Fethullah Gulen, over to Turkey, whose leader accuses Gulen of fomenting a failed coup, in order to get Turkey to back off its criticism of Saudi Arabia in the wake of the Khashoggi killing. In a statement to NBC News, the Saudi embassy in Washington said the claims in this purported assessment are false. We have and continue to hear various theories without seeing the primary basis for these speculations. And joining me now, MSNBC counterterrorism and intelligence analyst Malcolm Nance, and Ned Price, former CIA analyst and former senior director and spokesperson for the National Security Council during the Obama administration. He is an MSNBC national security contributor. Malcolm, I'm going to start with you because you've made a lot of predictions that have borne out over what would happen on the Khashoggi killing side of this with MBS. What do you make of the CIA assessment and the concurrent information that the Trump administration was considering handing a Turkish dissident over to Turkey, knowing what do you make of those two pieces of information?
Well, first off, the CIA assessment is not surprising at all. These are intelligence professionals. They are going to make the call as they see it. And it's not just coming from one bit of information. When they do an analysis like this and give you a high confidence report, they are using all of the collective knowledge of the United States government. They are packaging it, and then they are going to come up with a straight assessment. Now, whether the Trump administration does anything with that or believes it at all, that's entirely up to them. They're the consumers of this intelligence. On the other hand, it is also no surprise that Turkey would have leveraged the information that they had about Khashoggi's murder. And they would have done what they've done, which was drip out this information a bit at a time in order to bring an enormous amount of pressure onto Riyadh, and then use the relationship with the United States to try to get something to stop releasing the definitive information, which is pictures of the body and audio tape out to public. And to do that, they would want to get Fethullah Gulen, the U.S. resident here in Pennsylvania, the same person that Michael Flynn was supposed to be secretly paid $15 million for to extraordinarily rendition him back to Turkey and most likely to his death.
Yeah, and that is the disturbing piece, right? That the idea of turning this man over in exchange for the information. And Ned, some of the information we know, and this is not confirmed by NBC, but Washington Post reporting that the CIA examined multiple sources of intelligence, including a phone call that the prince's brother, Khalid bin Salman, the Saudi ambassador to the U.S., told Khashoggi that he should go to the Saudi consulate in Istanbul to retrieve the documents and gave him assurances that it would be safe to do so. In a normal administration, what would be the response if we had this kind of information about a country that we are allied with in many ways, like Saudi Arabia?
Well, Joy, I can tell you what the response wouldn't be. The response would not be to send the Secretary of State over to meet with Mohammed bin Salman days after this murder, when it was already quite clear there was at least a circumstantial case that Mohammed bin Salman himself had ordered this murder. At that time, we knew that close associates of Mohammed bin Salman were in Istanbul for the operation, took part in the operation. We knew it was premeditated. We knew that the Turks were claiming that there was high level of Saudi complicity in this, and yet Mike Pompeo went over there and he stood there shaking hands with Mohammed bin Salman, smiling the whole time. I think the response would be something akin to what we have seen in other punitive cases, where there are sanctions leveled, where a reevaluation of the relationship takes place. And we have not seen that. And we've not seen that because the administration made a very strategic choice, even during the transition, to hitch its wagon to Mohammed bin Salman. Mohammed bin Salman has essentially dictated our foreign policy in the Middle East as it pertains to Iran, as it pertains to the rest of the Gulf, and as it pertains to this devastating war in Yemen, now home to the worst humanitarian catastrophe on the face of the earth. And the Trump administration, to this very day, shows no sign of recalibrating that relationship, even in spite of this mounting evidence.
Yeah, absolutely. And indeed, the other sort of disturbing element of this, Malcolm, is this meme about Khashoggi that circulated on right-wing sites like Breitbart and others after his death. And just a little bit from the Washington Post, a theory the CIA has developed is that Mohammed bin Salman believed that Khashoggi was a dangerous Islamist who was too sympathetic to the Muslim Brotherhood, according to people familiar with the assessment. Days after Khashoggi disappeared, Mohammed relayed that view in a phone call with Jared Kushner, his friend, and John Bolton, the national security advisor, who's long opposed the Brotherhood and seen it as a regional security threat. So the idea that the same memes that were circulating on right-wing websites were sort of feeding this animosity toward this journalist.
And many of those memes that were out in the information battle zone, so to speak, were coming from Saudi Arabia. I mean, they had a very sophisticated, anti-opposition information attack process. And, one of the closest friends of Mohammed bin Salman was his chief propagandist. But that being said, that this would enter our information sphere and go into right-wing media, especially with regards to the accusation of him being a member of the Muslim Brotherhood, which, by the way, if you don't know it, in the Arabian Gulf, the Arabian Peninsula, the Muslim Brotherhood is considered, far, far more dangerous and insidious to them than Iran. And they just have a pathological hate of that group. And so mention the Muslim Brotherhood over there, you can get practically anything that you want. And so it's not surprising that these ideas would have been picked up by American right-wing media, and that would have made its way to the White House.
Wow, the disturbing information. Malcolm Nance, Ned Price, thank you both very much. Appreciate you.
Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on the button below for more from The Last Word and the rest of MSNBC.